Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. Alexi Lalas is here, hopefully the new head coach of the United States men's national team. That's soccer, the great sport, the beautiful game. Alexi, welcome back to the podcast.
There. How you doing? You look wonderful.
As do you.
Your glasses are awesome.
Well, I'm really worshiping your glasses.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with you, but you're a legend, in these parts and all parts. So it's a pleasure to be back.
You were at the RNC.
I was, yes.
I ran past you the first night in Milwaukee, and now you're here in Chicago. What brings you here?
So in the same way that I wanted to kind of satisfy my curiosity, my morbid curiosity, some would say, by going to Milwaukee, I wanted to be, if nothing else, fair and balanced.
Parity.
Parity, exactly. And do a little compare and contrast with, these two events. And there are lots of similarities, some differences. A lot of it mirrors soccer, to be quite honest here, or conventions in general, right? You got the spectrum of the diehard crazies on one side, and then the kind
hooligans.
And then the people just kind of coming into the tent to get free stuff,
yes.
And everything in between. The tribalism that goes on, the rah-rah type of stuff that goes on. But it's been fun. It's been great. Have a good time.
So who is winning at this point?
Winning? Well, there's a bigger contest, obviously, that goes on outside, and you are, in both instances, preaching to the proverbial choir.
Yeah.
I thought first night was really interesting, obviously, ending up with Joe. I thought it was...
very late.
Oh, my God, it was so long.
Did they do that to him on purpose? Do you think they pushed it late to make him
Yeah.
look so bad, to justify getting him off?
So in that sense, it was sad. There was
Yeah.
a sadness to it. I don't feel bad for him, but there was a sadness to it. I think it was irrelevant. I don't think it changes anybody's mind. Whatever memo there is for people to be shorter, they either haven't gotten it or they've gotten it and thrown it away, like true politician, because it just goes on and on and on, some of these speeches. And don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Well, and I think that's okay for some people.
Sure.
And a lot is forgiven for the super headliners, for the Elvises and the Beatles, for a Michelle Obama and a Donald Trump. But the other people in between, keep it tight and bright, Susan.
Yeah, and then it's really interesting in the way that they have now thrown multiple people on stage that, in my mind, in my humble opinion, in my only opinion, and personal opinion, are better than Kamala. So they keep throwing people on. They're like, hey, that would be kind of interesting, whether it was Hillary, whether it was...
the other women. I think they're doing that on purpose. I think they have Michelle Obama and Hillary on early in the week because, the contrast is a little too stark.
Maybe. So maybe strategically it's a good play.
Yeah.
I thought, let's see, who else? I thought Doug, actually, people disagreed with me on this, but I actually thought he did a good job of attempting to humanize his wife in that. It was still too long, like a lot of them. Let's see.
He's the kind of guy you can go tight 5 minutes and be good.
No, exactly.
Get whatever you need. You're not going to hit any finer points or higher notes with him. Just like 5 minutes, play the hits, get off the stage.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think when I see him, doesn't matter if he's talking or just standing there, is nanny humper. That's all I can think. That's it. Forever.
Make the T-shirts now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is like Mr. Normal Guy?
Yeah.
How does his ex-wife feel about that?
And it's been clear from the start that this is not necessarily about voting for Kamala. This is voting against Trump. I think that is just...
That's all they've got.
Yeah, and
I
get
policy
it.
Positions.
Trump's the Antichrist. I get it. I understand. Yeah. And, the whole joy type of thing, it's few and far between poking its way through.
A lot of joy with those pro-genocide Hamas types outside.
Screw them. I mean,
they're insane.
They are insane.
Yeah.
And they're... Yeah.
No, they know what they're doing.
Of course they do.
And I'm staying at one of the hotels that had a bomb threat.
Oh, really?
And so I asked them, it's like, how do you know that there's no more bomb threat? And they said they sent a lot of law enforcement, a lot of dogs. Went through every room, the entire hotel, all the security footage. So it was deemed safe. Hard to sleep last night, though.
Yeah, but you look wonderful, so you look rested.
That's all that matters.
But and so in the compare and contrast with Milwaukee and here, I think purely from a logistical standpoint, Milwaukee was easier in and out. The first night, I was in line with Guy Benson, and it was a complete S show. I mean, it was nuts outside. They had some problems getting in. The ingress was not great, and there were thousands of people. It took like an hour.
Word.
Ingress, egress, all that kind of stuff, and so the thousands of people were outside. So that wasn't good. The obvious hypocrisy of more cops everywhere, making it safer, and a freaking wall and ID and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the fact they built the wall.
It's. I mean,
I was like, they really are taking some of those talking points
it
from Trump.
works. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about soccer.
Yes.
I want to talk about the Olympics because a lot of people are watching the Olympics because, there are people who consider themselves fans, but they beam in for World Cup and Olympics. It happens, and sometimes they're not even soccer fans; they're sports fans. The women did not disappoint.
They did not.
How important was Emma Hayes to that win, and without her, would they have won the gold medal?
So Emma Hayes is the brand new coach for the women's team, and last we saw this women's team, they were bombing out historically and failing in the World Cup.
Yeah, worst World Cup in 30
years. It was horrible. It was horrible. And so there's a reset and a looking inward and an existential crisis and all that, and they went out and hired what I think is, arguably the best coach in the world in Emma Hayes. And that does make a difference when she walks into the room, and she came in and she doesn't suffer fools, and she got rid of players that didn't need to be there, brought in some players that did need to be there, and brought in a whole new feeling towards the team. But that's all fine and well until you actually get on the field and the whistle blows. And this team cruised through this tournament and put us back where we belong. So we're back, baby, when it comes to the U.S. Women's National Team. I think a lot of credit does go to Emma.
But I think the leadership is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were saying, and maybe we just like to believe this because we disagree with her politics, but that Megan Rapinoe was sort of an anvil on the team and, did something to the tone of the team to kind of either scare people, some of the younger players, or bring everybody down and cast a pall. Does one player have the ability to do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One player can be a cancer. I'm not saying that Megan necessarily was, but I do think from the outside, when you look at this team this summer at the Olympics relative to the team in the previous summer in the World Cup, it was very difficult. I mean, I said it on air. Don't kill a messenger, but this team is unlikable by a certain portion of America for the things that they do, certainly off the field, and what they portray. And if you don't have the winning at the very least to back it up, it gets very old very quickly for a lot of people. And I think people came back into the fold this summer, celebrated this team. They were immensely likable individually and obviously collectively being the gold medal winners. And so I think they learned from the past. This group learned from the past as to what not to do. And I don't want people to be scared, and I don't want them to be afraid to have their opinions and do all that kind of stuff, but just recognize that sometimes, especially in something like sports, you can alienate people.
Well, and also don't take people's joy away from them. Because there are people who take great joy in hearing the national anthem.
Yep.
And it is a point of pride, and it's meaningful. And to denigrate that and try and take it away, I think is very, very cruel. And that's also what struck me about Emma Hayes was during the press conference, they asked her, what was the difference? What are you doing in that locker room? And she said, love. I love these players. I want them to feel loved. And there was something very beautiful about that. It's like, I'm sure she's tough. I'm sure she's not scared of her players, but she's also bringing out something extraordinary in them and re-injecting the kind of joy we were promised here on a place where maybe it matters even more, which is the soccer field.
She celebrated our country, and in particular with her story and the amount of time that she has spent in the U.S. And she, from the very first day she was hired, she said, the United States made me and kind of changed me.
Yeah.
And I think she has an incredible respect and appreciation for the time that she has spent in the United States, for what it has given her over the years as a soccer coach, and now this opportunity to lead this team. And that appreciation, I think it was a breath of fresh air relative to this team, and to your point, relative to the country, to have somebody standing up and say, yeah, this is fun. This is fun to be American. This is fun to celebrate this incredible, great country. Yeah. And it's a pity that sometimes we need someone from the outside to show us how good we have it.
But then, it's like you and I are both children of immigrants.
Sure.
That was imbued in us. You have no idea what we left. That was always the vibe. You have no idea what we left behind, what we came here to give you. And that's why it makes sense for someone who has immigrated into this country to love it and
But why did we screw that up? Why did we bastardize that? Why did we get to a point now where there's certain people that think that it's cool not to like America, that it's cool to go against God. And again, this has nothing to do with not calling out things that are bad and highlighting things. We're obviously not perfect or anything like that, but we're a hell of a lot better than a lot of other countries. There's a reason why so many people want to come here. And how did we let generations, and I know we sound like grumpy old men when we say this, but how do we let a generation, again, take what was pure and wonderful and denigrate it to where we're talking about it in completely the opposite way. That's not what America is about.
No,
and it's
that's
not fun.
communism.
It's also not fun.
Yeah,
right?
but to me, that's like commie thinking. That's, and taking something and flipping it's on its head and saying, this is now bad. This thing that is objectively good is now bad. And
wanting us to fail and wanting us to lose, which is even worse.
And that's what happened with them. Like, so those people who had that commie mentality on the U.S. women's national team, when they failed at the World Cup, there were so many people that cheered, and that made me sad.
People were hate watching.
Yeah.
People were hate watching.
Yes.
And it is sad that we've got, especially when it comes to the Olympics and the World Cup. At times it's an escape, and it is a time to celebrate. We obviously disagree on a lot of different things out there, but in this moment to kind of come together, and when you do it, when you just get rid of all that crap and you actually acquiesce and succumb to it, it's awesome. It's such a wonderful feeling to be united together. This is a good feeling. There's a reason why it's so powerful. There's a reason why generations have recognized it and understand that power. Yeah. It's because it gets in you. Yeah. And it's like love. It's like anything else out there. You want more of it.
So I want to love the men's national team. So how do you fix it? Because I know someone said to you, would you coach the men's national team? Would you?
Oh, I would. They should be so lucky. But
are you mad at Burkhalter?
No. So
what is he doing wrong?
So Greg Berhalter has coached the team for the last 2 cycles. Had a horrible summer, failed, and got fired. Like coaches in all sports, right? So he's gone, and right now we're in the process of hiring a new one. Right now the rumor is that Mauricio Pochettino, who is a 52-year-old Argentine, has coached at the likes of Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur and PSG, and so has a really good pedigree when it comes to coaching club teams around the world. Has yet to coach internationally.
Did he coach PSG when all the stars were there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he has coached stars, and it's a sexy name. They're going to pay a lot of money, and he's going to come in, and in the same way Emma, I think he's going to come into that locker room and immediately not just demand, but get respect from a wonderful generation of players, but that kind of need to be kicked in the ass. And I think it's a good hire, and I think that it will help. We have less than 2 years until the 26th World Cup, so Mauricio Pochettino does not have a lot of time to figure it out.
Does it take more time with the men than it does with the women? Because Emma Hayes had, 8 weeks?
Men are
10
slower
weeks?
is what you're saying.
I'm wondering,
mentally?
because it's like, because they were like, well, the women's program sucks now. It's going to be a decade before they're better.
Well, first off, recognize that
it was like,
but we've had a head start. We've had a multi-decade head start when it comes to women's soccer because we are a much more evolved country and society and culture. Right. And literally we have in place legally rules and regulations and laws that have given us that head start when it comes to not just women's soccer, but women's sports in general. I know we're trying to screw that up, but that's one of the reasons why we've been so good.
It's going to be all dudes. Right? 2027, it's going to be all dudes. That's what Megan Rapinoe wants.
There we go.
It's going to be all 7-foot women.
Let's just have one team. I mean, if we're really going to do this, let's save some money. Just have one team and let the chips fall where they may. We'll see how that goes.
Maybe World Cup every couple of years.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Co-ed naked World Cup.
I think you're onto something.
Right? Make some money on that.
Are the men going to do well? Will there be something about home pitch advantage that will help them?
Yes. In 26, I think playing at home, the first time since 1994 from a men's perspective when we had the World Cup, which is one of the reasons.
A star was born
I'm sitting at this table because of that.
Exactly
so I know the power, and I'm excited for that power to come back tenfold, 30-fold in what American soccer is now, both on and off the field. And I do think it's going to translate into having a good team that uses that moment. They are not at the level of the women relative to the rest of the world and the other men's team out there. But it doesn't mean that magical things can't happen.
Magical things can happen.
I know, exactly.
Especially when you have someone go in and pick the right players for the right reason, who also, his level of expertise, he might be able to see something in them that other outsiders don't see, and put them together in a way that it's like French cooking. It's some of the simplest ingredients, but it is the technique that makes it
and little
delicious.
Things and little details.
Exactly right.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
Exactly.
All right, so what are you looking forward to for the rest of the DNC?
So I'm here through the week, like I said. So I wanted to do equal time, both in Milwaukee and here in Chicago. Obviously tonight, the Walls guy, he's going to, go on and do his hand thing and scream and yell. And there's a lot of screaming and yelling going on at us. Over us,
I figured maybe the monitors on stage weren't working, so they can't hear themselves.
So the interesting thing is I have had my seat the last couple of nights at a point where I can see the teleprompter, and obviously we live in a teleprompter age, but there is not a single person that goes up there without the teleprompter. And it's really interesting to see people go through the teleprompter and which ones are really good at it, which ones are really bad at it, which ones are incredible at adding stuff on the fly and being efficient in doing that, and which ones aren't. But I don't know if anybody's able to just get up there and wing it anymore.
So Tucker Carlson, during his RNC speech, did not have teleprompter, which I thought was impressive.
It's amazing.
And Donald Trump, during his 3.5-hour speech on the final night of the RNC, the little old guy next to me was like, "Is that machine broken?" Because it wasn't moving. It's like, no.
Well, whoever operates Trump's teleprompter needs to give that dude a medal.
Seriously,
all right? I mean,
that person
can you imagine
needs the
sweat?
Congressional
He's like,
Medal of Honor.
I don't know where he's going, but I'm just going to stop here.
And then it would be like, start, stop.
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. Here he goes. Again. I don't know. I actually watched Biden's speech from the Fox booth, and so we know kind of what's coming, and it just kept going on and on, and another page, and another page, and another page. And I know they wanted to kind of give his moment, and at some point I think they just watched the hand and said, like, let's just let this happen and whatever. And that's why it was a little bit sad and kind of cruel and unusual punishment.
But I love that they said, "Oh, his speech was so late because everyone was clapping so much."
No, that is definitely not it.
No, their hands would be bloodied.
Yes,
just like little meaty stumps.
Yes, and then Thursday. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that all rolls out. I mean, again, there'll be teleprompter.
I wonder if the vice president will use the teleprompter at all.
Yeah, of course they will.
Of course she will.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's how they roll.
All right, Alexi, Lalas, we'll check in with you
Thank
soon
you. You're the
about
best.
Soccer, politics, culture, and all things in between.
All the things.
One
all
of my
the
very
things.
favorites.
Oh.
There he is. This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Alexi Lalas. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.